is going to be very exciting, and we have a very special guest with us here today. Her name is Chevel Scott Johnson, a teacher with a bachelor's degree in primary education and a specialty in reading. Chevel has been a teacher for 5 years and currently teaches at the grade 6 level. Chevel is the school-based literacy coordinator and also culture agent, which is very exciting. At her school, she enjoys baking, socializing, and really any aspect of the theater arts and especially singing. She also enjoys playing netball. Tell me who doesn't, right? So, Chevelle, welcome to this week's episode, and we are so happy that you are here.
Thank you so much, Tajay, for having me. It's indeed a pleasure when we can join and discuss matters that are impacting the education system, because we are educators, of course.
That's right. All right, guys. So this week, we're going to hop into a very exciting topic where we will be discussing learning strategies for Gen Z. Now, you might be wondering, who are the Gen Zs, right? So all the Gen Zs in the building say woot woot. All right, we're millennials, so we can't.
Yeah, we are.
So guys, Gen Z is just a shortening for Generation Z. So what this means is that it's the newest generation born between 1997 and 2012. There is a new research that really says that, there's a new generation called Generation Alpha. And these persons, were born between 2010 and 2024. So we're not really sure about Generation Alpha, but what we're really sure about is Generation Z. And today we're going to be highlighting the learning strategies. How do Gen Z persons learn in this time? All right, so Chevelle, how do you engage Generation Z in the classroom?
All right, that's a good question. How do we engage Generation Z in the classroom? Gen Zs are the first true digital natives. They are redefining learning because of it. They see the world differently. They think differently. So to engage them, we have to incorporate technology in our lessons in a meaningful way. Maybe it be a video, an online game, visuals, etc. So if we are to engage them because they are redefining how they learn, we have to redefine how we teach, and that is through technology.
Wow, I really love those points. And I like the part that you said in a meaningful way, because it's not just grabbing any little gadget and say, hey, go on this website or go on this, system. It has to be meaningful. It has to be planned for. I was very shocked today when it's just so different than us, how we learned. We learned by chalk and talk, honey.
Exactly. And that is going to, that I plan to talk about that, because when I was trying to think if I have ever seen my teacher during primary school with a computer, if I've ever seen a video during any lesson, I cannot recall.
No.
I just cannot recall. It's just talk.
And you're right till your fingertip drop off, right?
Right. But, and it helps to develop us, because even these students nowadays, sometimes the way how they write, you will see the text coming out in the way in which they write. So technology does impact how they learn. It does impact the behaviors that they exhibit. So we just have to redefine our strategies, to help bring out the best in them.
That is so true. That is so true. Today I find that I was doing a lesson and my student he was like, bruh, I nearly had a heart attack. I'm telling you, I nearly had a heart attack. I'm like, bruh. And he's like, why are you tripping, miss? I'm like, oh my God. This is a totally different generation.
And yes, I'm glad you brought that up. I don't mean to cut you off. I'm glad you brought that up. I was thinking as well,
Mhm.
Gen Zs, they're so outspoken. The things that they say to me, sometimes I say, I don't think I could ever say that to my teacher when I was growing up.
True.
They're very outspoken. They love autonomy,
Mhm.
so they're just a whole different set of generation, which we have to look at ways in which we are going to engage them if we're going to bring out the best in them.
That's true. We have to go back to the drawing board and really develop these skills also in order to reach
Mhm.
them. Yeah. So, Chevelle, what are the preferred learning styles of today's students, really?
All right. So earlier we said that we used to do chalk and talk
Mm-hmm.
for our generation mostly. Gen Zs, there are three broad learning styles. You have the visual,
Yeah.
the auditory, and the kinesthetic,
Mm-hmm.
right? Gen Zs more gravitate towards being visual learners and kinesthetic learners. They like to explore, they like to work with their hands, they
Mm-hmm.
like to see things. So, for example, you're doing a lesson, and as I said, technology is going to be the main topic of this
Mm-hmm.
conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
you're doing a lesson and you're doing mixtures, and you're gonna talk about how you can separate mixtures like sugar and water using evaporation.
Yeah.
Now, instead of just explaining or giving them the lecture that won't work for them, it won't
Mm-hmm.
resonate well with them because they
Mm-hmm.
like to see the demonstration, right? So simple, go on YouTube, you look for a video. You might not be able to have that demonstration being done actually in class because you'll need, heat, you'll need a fire and so on, which is not very
Right.
safe. But you can pull up a video and show them how it is done, and then it resonates with them. They learn better that way, right? Because they will be engaged from the video instead of just talking about, how this is being separated.
That is true. Oh, actually, I was thinking today about this topic, and I'm like, guys, because my students are very excited about this podcast. They're like, my teacher is a celebrity. So they look out for the episodes, and today I was just sharing with them how I'm going to be talking about how they learn, and
Mhm.
some of these points came up also, that they like to see, they like to touch, they like
Yes,
to hear. So
they do.
it's no longer me coming to tell you circumference is the distance around a circle.
Hmm.
Get out your string and measure stuff.
Right.
Get your ruler, measure stuff. Let them actually have a hands-on experience.
So I'm glad you spoke about that because the example that I spoke about, use
Mhm.
separating mixture, that is something that I've done recently. And they were so fascinated because to them you cannot separate sugar and water because the sugar dissolves in the
No?
water. You cannot separate salt and water. And they say, Miss, that can't work. How when me go mega try it? It interests them. Instead of just what if I had just went there and say, okay, you can separate it by this and not showing them the method, it grabs
Mhm.
them more. They want to do it. So the kinesthetic part, they want to get it done, and that's how they learn because too they have a short attention span. So they
Yes.
don't want to sit and listen to a boring lecture. Right? If they are engaged and they're exploring, then they're definitely on the right path.
Mm-hmm. And you can see it in their posture, one. You can see it in their behavior. So the posture, honey, teachers, if you are teaching your children and they're like this,
Yeah.
or just like extra fidgety, that means, honey, you're not reaching that child.
Yeah, you're not.
You're not
Mhm.
reaching
You're
that
not.
child. And there's a research recently that says because of social media,
Mhm.
humans now have the attention span of a goldfish. And that is not good. That's like
But
7
it's very
seconds,
true.
but it is very
Mm.
true. So we have to really make sure that our lessons are, one, holding the attention of the students, and
Mhm.
for the duration of the lesson too. It's
Of the
not just the
lesson.
introduction and then you leave them. It's everything.
Right. Mhm.
Chevel, how do you motivate Generation Z to learn? How do you motivate them?
All right. So, Taj, the first thing I'm going to tell you, in order for you as a
Mhm.
teacher to motivate your students, Gen Zs, you
Yes.
have to motivate yourself. That's the first thing, right? You
Mhm.
have to motivate yourself. And I thought to myself, when you're uninspired by the subjects that you teach, the
Yes.
students, they know, right? And it spirals into how they receive what you're telling them or what you're guiding them to do. So you have to believe in your craft. You
Mhm.
have to inspire yourself. You have to be motivated,
Yeah.
right? Because if the student know that, Miss don't like math, and the expectations that you have of them is not going to be very high as well. So that's the first thing we have to do to motivate them,
Mhm.
right? Secondly, I would like to say that to motivate them, don't limit their learning to the walls of the classroom. Gone. Those days are gone.
Gone, honey.
Gone through the door. We're looking at lines of latitude and longitude. Go on Google Earth. Look at all those, look on the map in 3D
Yes.
instead of having the class before you. Miss, let us find our school. Let us look at the location. Right? So don't limit their learning to the walls of the classroom.
Mhm.
That is another way in which we motivate them. And I'm going to share a third and final point in motivating Gen Zs. Take feedback from your students. I would advise all teachers. I'm glad earlier you mentioned that you planned a lesson and when you went there, like,
Mhm.
I think most teachers or all teachers have had that moment. You plan a lesson and you say,
Of
Jesus,
course.
the lesson here I go nice. And you have some activities and you say class I go mash up. When I go to school, the students are like,
Oh my God. It's true.
yes, the activities are fun to you, but not to them, right? So you have to take their feedback. You're planning a lesson. Students, what are some activities you think we can do to bring out this concept? Would you like
Mhm.
to write a poem? Would you like to do a role play? Would you like to tell a story? All right, take their feedback. And I think what we can do as teachers is to develop a student feedback questionnaire where after each lesson, you may not do it every day, but after certain lessons, you can give it
Mhm.
to them what they thought about this strategy, what could have been done better, because the Gen Zs will not look at you as a source of knowledge. You're just the facilitator, because remember, no
Mhm.
information is right there at their fingertips. So
Mhm.
you are facilitating them. So take their feedback, and I think that is one way in which we can motivate them to learn, and they will be engaged that way as well.
Wow. I like that part about taking feedback from the students, especially. And you are so right. You are so right. Sometimes we plan our lessons and we're like, you can't wait to go and execute, honey. And when you
Yeah.
go there, like, what in the name
Yeah.
of old age activity is this? My students, for one, they don't like role play. It's
Mhm.
I love role play, right? And I find that my students last year loved role play, but this
Mhm.
particular class, they don't like role play. You know what they like? They like to make videos. So if they're able to record themselves and do all these fancy stuff
Right.
presented, then they're all for that. But role play,
Mhm.
so
All
I
right. So we should not limit them either. That's another thing. Sometimes we limit our students and we say, okay, students, you're gonna do this project,
yeah.
and you just give them one way of doing it. Give them the topic, tell
Mhm.
them what you expect. If they want to record themselves saying, repeating the information that you need,
Yeah.
that's fine. That's accepted. If you want to put it in a story, if you want to put it in a brochure, if you want to just print it on page and put it in a file jacket, that's fine. So we are not to limit them, because the possibilities and the creativity that they have, it is endless.
Endless.
Mhm.
Endless. And this leads me to my next question because we see, or we can't see really, the way the world is going. Because every day there are new innovations that we can't even fathom. So, do you think that our method of teaching and learning today will prepare the students amply for the future?
All right. If the methods are being strategic, then a resounding yes.
Okay.
Right? We have to be strategic with the method. So today we want to empower our students to be ready for the world, right? And that is why the education system is being redefined. So the 4 C's, the creativity, the communication, the collaboration, and did I say creativity already?
Yes.
Creativity, communication, collaboration, and critical thinking. Right? Those are the skills that are necessary in this 21st century to be ready for the future. In everything that you do, you will need to learn how to communicate effectively, how to think critically to solve your problems. So if we are being strategic with these things within the classroom, then yes, the students will be prepared for the future. But note, if it is done strategically.
If wow.
Yeah.
And I know that, back in our days, it sounds so
That sounds like a long time ago. That sounds like a long time ago. I feel so old. And might I tell you, I'm fluent with I love technology and I'm
right.
fluent with technology. But I tell you, since these new applications like TikTok and stuff come in, I'm like, I just learned how to make reels the other day, Taji. And I'm like, I thought I was a bomb with technology. Like these are the children, you see them on TikTok, they know the ins and the outs, they know everything. So if we are going to redefine, if they are redefining the way they learn, we have to redefine the way they teach. We have to get with the time. We have to be current. We cannot be talking about hashtag. Miss, let us use hashtag today. You don't know what hashtag is.
Oh no.
Let them help you. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. If they know you're not tech savvy, that is fine. But
Yes.
don't push side. Allow the students to help you because that is what interests them, and you are the facilitator.
Yes. And my students put me on TikTok. They showed me how to. I'm like, guys, how do I record a video? How do I add the music? Because I'm like,
Right,
I
right.
went on YouTube trying to learn how to do it. And I'm like, what better way than to let them teach me? And then, I'm like, savage love.
Well, I'm right behind you, Natasha. I'm not letting you go ahead of me.
I know. Don't let me go ahead of you. So, a point I was making that back in our time, when we were asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? The typical answer would be doctor, lawyer, teacher, police officer, or nurse, right? Those 5 things. These days, you ask these children what they want to become, and my millennial brain is telling me, really? A YouTuber? Come on.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Or a gamer. Or a gamer.
Our gamer, content creator. I had to really catch up on myself and say, guys, Taj, this is the way the world is going. This is the direction.
Yeah.
So
We celebrated Careers Day a few weeks ago. And we're to look at, for grade 6, we were to look at careers to expand the child's horizon. And while I was doing my research, and I was thinking, when I was going to primary school, me never hear about them here career. I didn't hear about them. About no gamer, professional gamer. No, I did not. But like I said, Gen Zs are born in a time when technology is, prevalent.
Yes.
So they have information at their fingertips. They are so exposed. And if we don't mind, what can happen. But yes, they're exposed, which is good.
Yeah.
Because first, I don't know what generation that is. They'll tell you if you ask them, how is a child born? They tell you it dropped from the sky.
Yes.
And that's what they would believe, because they don't think that a child should know the process, in which they are conceived and how they are born,
Mm-hmm.
right? So Gen Z's information is right there at their
Right
fingertips,
there.
right
Right
there.
there. Right there. It's amazing how much they know. It's amazing how much they can do. And we really can't put them in a box. We have to allow them to explore and be themselves.
Mhm.
So we want to do better as teachers, right, teachers? You can
Yes, yes.
answer. Right?
Because the truth is, we
Uh-huh.
are not fulfilled if you do a lesson and the students don't gravitate towards it
Yeah.
and they're not learning the concept that you're teaching. You don't feel fulfilled as a teacher.
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
No,
mm-mm.
we don't.
No. And if we're feeling fulfilled, then we need to do introspection, self-introspection, and reassess ourselves, because ultimately we'll lose them if we don't get with the times.
Right.
And so as we try to close out this session, I want you, Chevelle, to give teachers some tips on planning successfully for the 21st century learners. These tips can also be used by parents, even at home. Whatever activities you're doing at home, you can also incorporate these. So, what are 5 tips on planning successfully for the 21st century learners?
All right. So the first tip I'd like to share is that
Mhm,
you're to make learning fun. And
mhm.
by fun, I mean what interests the students. And we would have talked about that earlier, not necessarily what's fun to you,
Yes.
but what interests them, at home too. Don't use learning as a punishment. Oh, you did this, go and read a book.
Wow.
Don't let them see learning as punishment, as
Mhm.
something bad. I did something bad, so I have to go and take up my book.
Mm.
Right? That's the first point I'd like to share. Be relevant, be trendy, so you can be relatable. Right? You can build a professional relationship with them. Right?
Mm.
When they can relate to you, they feel like you understand them. Right? You get more out of them that way. The third, think digital.
Yes.
Always think digital. No matter, you're not going to overuse technology. And earlier I mentioned that you would use technology in a meaningful way,
Mm-hmm.
right? Let them explore. If you're talking about um, the rights of citizens in your country, let them go
Mm-hmm.
online and look up the universal human rights,
Yeah.
come and teach the class about it, right? So think digital always, all right? Because they will learn that way.
Yeah.
All right, so another tip I'd like to share, Taji,
Mm-hmm.
tap into their creativity. Tap into their creativity. Our students have and our children, they have so much talent that is hidden. It
Sure.
just needs to be pulled out of them, right? So allow them to be creative. And I think we discussed that earlier, where I said, for example, you're giving them an assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say, all right, this group, you're going to write a story. This group, let them present the information the way in which they're going to choose a way in which they're confident
Confident.
in their skills
Yeah.
to present that information. If I'm not good at role playing, I'm not going to want to do a role play, but Miss said I should do a role play.
That's it.
What is going to be the result of that role play? You're asking a child to do something that he or she doesn't like to do. So give them choice, give them a little, freedom. They like autonomy. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the tips that I would like to share. I'm sure there are many more that we could look at in which we could, engage them, motivate them, etc. But these are some of the main points. And I'm very sure that they would really appreciate teachers who are redefining their strategies to suit them.
Wow. Woo!
Mhm.
Girl. Powerful. Powerful.
Yes.
I love these points. And, as educators, sometimes we think we're doing the right thing until we hear other perspectives. So I'm
Mhm.
definitely taking these in. I'm taking these in, especially the one don't use learning as a punishment. Go take up your book.
Yeah, trust me, it does something we don't even know what we're doing to them. Trust me, when we say, go and take up your book.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why are you doing this? Go and do some math.
Yes.
They see it as a punishment, and no one likes punishment.
Nobody.
Right? So
we used to get that back in our time, millennials. Our parents used to say, you don't have anything, go take up your book, you know? And I don't know how much that really affected us back then, but it can't work with this generation. It just can't work. And so, Chevelle, I just want to thank you so much for these points. Teachers, take your bit from this. Woo! This was very enlightening.
And there's one question, Tajay, that I would like to ask the teachers who are joining and listening your podcast, and I would like for them to leave a comment to this question. If we aren't changing with our students, are we really doing the most for their learning? Ask yourself that question. Are we really doing the most for their learning if we're not going to change with them?
Wow.
One thing is constant in a Taj, and that's change.
That's true.
One thing is constant, and that's change. So don't have a grade 5 class for 3 years and are using the same lesson plan. I'm not gonna mash anybody's car, you know. But I know it's difficult. But you know, you can tweak it, change up some ideas depending on the students that you have and the skills that they have, you know, and the creativity. Just like you mentioned earlier, you had a set last year, they loved role play.
Yes.
But this set won't love it. So we have to use what they love.
Yes. Change your lesson plans, teachers.
Yes.
The students will thank you later for it. They will benefit.
Yeah, they will.
They will benefit from it. So don't forget to answer that question down below. Okay. I have to be getting with the times. I gave my students a project, and the project was named Material Girls. Material Girls. I'm like,
yeah.
Okay.
And I bet they loved it. They loved it.
They love it so much. They love it.
So my project on materials.
Oh my goodness, Material Girls.
We have to be trendy.
Yes, we have to. We have to get with the time, guys. Take feedbacks from your students, motivate them, don't limit their creativity, think digital, and tap into their creativity. These are points that I want you guys to ponder on, and let us be the change that these children need to see. And once that change starts with us, honey,
ain't no going back.
These children are definitely going to matriculate and do well. So, Chevelle, thank you so much for joining this podcast this week. You were excellent. You gave some excellent points. And guys, those who are watching, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And thank you so much. See you next week.
Thank you so much for having me, Taj.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.